Although President Biden is no longer leading the Democratic ticket, he shared with CBS Sunday Morning this week that his decision to exit the 2024 race was motivated by the same principles that drove him to seek the presidency 4 years ago: preserving democracy and defeating former President Donald Trump. In his first in-depth interview since stepping back from the 2024 campaign, Mr. Biden discussed his groundbreaking choice to end his re-election efforts and endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. He also outlined his priorities for the remainder of his term and emphasized that Americans, along with democracy itself, are at an inflection point in world history. Here are some key takeaways from Mr. Biden's interview. On July 21st, Mr. Biden announced he would not pursue a second term. Shortly after, he addressed the nation from the Oval Office, stating that saving our democracy outweighed personal ambition. He told CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa that the competition between him and Trump was neck and neck and would have been a close race. A CBS News poll released on July 18th, the final night of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, showed Trump leading by 5 points nationally and by 3 points in key battleground states, which was essentially within the margin of error. Following a disappointing first debate performance, more Democrats, particularly in Congress, urged the president to withdraw from the race. Mr. Biden explained, "A number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate were concerned that I would hurt their chances in the elections. I worried that if I stayed in the race, that would become the focus, calling it a real distraction." He made the historic decision in a small gathering with close advisors, including First Lady Jill Biden, at his Rehoboth Beach vacation home while recovering from COVID-19. The president revealed that a promise he made to his late son, Beau Biden, was always on his mind. Beau, who served as Delaware's Attorney General, passed away from brain cancer in 2015 at the age of 46. "I can honestly say that I think of him all the time," Mr. Biden said. "Whenever I face a tough decision, I ask myself, what would Beau do? He should be the one here being interviewed, not me. He was a remarkable man." Mr. Biden recalled Beau urging him to stay committed, asking him to promise before he died, "But Dad, you gotta make me a promise." I said, "What's that, Beau?" He said, "I know when it happens you're gonna want to quit. You're not gonna stay engaged. Look at me, Dad. Give me your word as a Biden. When I go, you'll stay engaged. Give me your word." And I did. Initially, Mr. Biden had no intention of running for president after Trump's election in 2016, but the violent rally by white supremacists in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017, where a counter-protester was killed, changed his perspective. When he was elected in 2020, Mr. Biden viewed himself as a transitional figure following the Trump presidency. "When I ran the first time, I thought of myself as a transition president," he told Costa. "It's hard for me to even say how old I am." He explained that stepping away from the race was essential to support what he considers a critical issue: maintaining this democracy. Mr. Biden emphasized the high stakes of the upcoming election, stating, "If Trump wins, watch what happens. It's a danger. He's a genuine threat to American security. We must defeat Trump." He described the current moment as an inflection point in world history, asserting that the choices made now will shape the next 6 decades. "Democracy is key," he added. Recently, the president proposed changes to the U.S. Supreme Court, advocating for term limits and an enforceable ethics code for justices. He also called for a constitutional amendment to limit presidential immunity, following the court's ruling that a president enjoys broad immunity from prosecution for official acts, effectively placing the chief executive above the law. "The Supreme Court is so out of whack. I proposed limiting terms to 18 years, he said. "The MAGA Republicans show little regard for our political institutions, which are essential to holding this country together. That's what democracy is about." Recently, Harris selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her vice presidential running mate and began a tour of battleground states. At a rally in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Harris described her team as joyful warriors,